Good evening, I'm Pat Masters.
And I'm Sean Daly. Walpole Toes off tonight. I'm here in the Plunder Dome newsroom. You heard it here first on Eyewitness News. Major developments tonight on the day 34 of this Plunder Dome trial. Here's the latest. Let's go now to the latest. The defense team for Mayor Cianci, his former top aide and a local businessman rested its case today. Mayor Cianci did not take the witness stand. The move comes 7 weeks into the trial. Eyewitness News reporter Jack White is standing by live now outside federal court with more. Jack?
The end, it seems, came very quickly. At 2:15 this afternoon, Mayor Vincent Cianci's lawyer, Richard Egbert, stood up and said, "Your Honor, we rest." That was quickly followed by the lawyers for the two other defendants, Frank Correnti and Richard Audiello. The evidence portion of this case ended without any of the defendants, including Mayor Cianci, testifying in this case. The case goes to the jury next week. The principals in the case knew when they arrived this morning there was one major hurdle before the defense would rest. The mayor's lawyer, Richard Egbert, wanted to play a secret FBI tape recorded in 1995 that was not part of the Plunder Dome investigation. An undercover agent posing as a businessman met with Cianci, and the mayor says on the tape, "No one will ask you for anything. If anyone does, you call me. I'll have his blank cut off, and I'll have him arrested." Egbert argued the tape was a counterpoint to the broad-brush statements of Pannoni about the buying and selling of City Hall. Convicted former city tax official Joseph Pannoni was featured on many tapes that were played during the trial, making incriminating statements about Cianci and defendant Frank Correnti. Prosecutors argued playing the tape should allow them to call rebuttal witnesses like Ronald Glantz, the convicted former city solicitor in Cianci's first administration. Glantz presumably would testify that Cianci was not an honest man. But Judge Ernest Torres ruled against the tape's introduction, saying what Mayor Cianci said was entirely gratuitous. The judge added his decision to exclude the tape does not preclude the mayor from testifying to this or any other matter. But as we said, Mayor Cianci decided not to testify. Now, the lawyers in the case have until the end of the day tomorrow to file any written motions. On Monday, they will argue that more charges in this case be dismissed. Then on Tuesday, we'll have the charge by the judge and closing arguments. My expectation is that the jury will get the case probably on Wednesday. In Providence, with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, Jack White, Eyewitness News.
Stay with Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of the Operation Plunder Dome trial. We'll have live hourly updates every day while court is in session, so you won't miss any developments.
It had to come to an end. I mean, there's only so many credible witnesses they could put on the stand, and obviously by the testimony, I'm not really even sure who I believe.
Then at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Joan Moran will join us with reaction hours after the defense team rested its case. Once again, now the ball is in the court for the lawyers. They will begin closing arguments Tuesday morning. Pat?
Black smoke, as you see here, is filling the air as 6 tons of fertilizer is now on fire in a shed at a golf course in Quincy. Fire officials on scene say they have to let it burn instead of putting firefighters at risk. They're worried about a massive explosion if water is put on the fire. The 75 by 90-foot structure only contains fertilizer and the equipment. Also topping Eyewitness News today, new details in a bank robbery that Eyewitness News first brought you as breaking news at this time yesterday. Eyewitness News reporter Allison Maloney is live with the mobile newsroom outside East Providence Police Headquarters.
Well, 2 people are under arrest in connection with yesterday's bank robbery at Citizens Bank on Newport Avenue in East Providence. They are scheduled to be arraigned later this afternoon at District Court. Now, in the past 2 days, 3 Citizens Banks have been robbed, one in New Bedford, the other in Providence, and the most recent in East Providence. Now, police say at all of those, no weapons were shown. However, they would not comment on whether the suspects were linked to all of those robberies. And they did say that was a big part of their investigation. Now, in just a couple of hours, we will know more about those suspects, and we will bring you the latest information on this developing story beginning tonight on Eyewitness News. For now, we're live in East Providence. Allison Maloney, Eyewitness News.
And police in Providence are still on the lookout for 2 suspects who robbed another Citizens Bank on Plainfield Street. Authorities say the man who went inside the bank is in his 20s. The second suspect, who was waiting outside, drove the getaway car. Police say no weapon was shown during this robbery. And now on to our top story. A once derelict set of buildings contaminated with lead paint and infested with rats has come down. It's all part of a revitalization plan to build back the Elmwood neighborhood in Providence. That's our top story this noontime. Eyewitness News reporter Karen Southern joins us live with the Metro Mobile Newsroom.
It doesn't look like much now, a backhoe and a bunch of ugly debris, but this entire corner at Moore and Broad is about to be transformed into beautiful, affordable apartments. It's all part of an ambitious revitalization project. Bit by bit, a backhoe gobbles up rat-infested decay. It paves the way for new hope at the corner of Moore and Broad Street in the Elmwood section of Providence.
We are all coming together to revitalize and build not just housing, but build neighborhoods. Neighborhoods that consist not only of low-income people, but moderate-income people and middle-income people, and people who are buying homes and investing in the neighborhood and generating wealth for themselves.
The $8.6 million Elmwood Neighborhood Revitalization Project will create 46 lead-safe, affordable apartments, new homes for people struggling to raise their families. The revitalization project will also restore 12 Victorian homes and clean up 2 major corners that at one time could only be described as eyesores. Now, one interesting part of this project is that it actually takes 2 houses that were once a center of drug activity and gives them back to the community. This project has several funding sources, including Rhode Island Housing Corporation, city, and state funding. We're live with the Metro Mobile Newsroom in Elmwood. Karen Southern, Eyewitness News.
We begin today with team coverage of this major developing story. Today, Cardinal Bernard Law has become the highest-ranking church official to fall as a result of the abuse scandal. Pope John Paul II accepted Law's resignation after the two met at the Vatican this morning. This after calls increased for Cardinal Law's resignation in recent days. Last week, Law and several bishops who worked under him were subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in a criminal investigation of the sex abuse scandal. Drew Levinson has the latest for us now live.
In the end, the heat was turned up too high even for Cardinal Law. The Vatican said as he accepted the resignation, Pope John Paul II was, quote, deeply saddened by the whole affair. After losing the support of his priests and parishioners, Boston Cardinal Bernard Law ultimately lost the support of the Holy Father. Pope John Paul II accepted Law's resignation for the embattled cardinal's failure to deal with priests who were sexually abusing children. In a written statement released at the Vatican, Law both apologized and begged for forgiveness.
One more moment of sadness over the whole timeline of great sadness and grief that has touched the Archdiocese, beginning with the monumental tragedy of the abuse of children.
I'm glad he resigned. I think it's a year or two, a bit late, though.
Victims groups applauded the news and can now look to the future.
I hope that, the victims out there feel now that they can get going and try to heal, and I hope that the church will participate in this.
Bishop Richard Lennon will replace Law for now. He's been named special administrator for the Boston Archdiocese until a permanent archbishop is named.
He is a person that can lead us forward to where we need to be in the year or the months to come.
Law's resignation doesn't mean his problems are over. The state attorney general here is still investigating the sexual abuse scandal and allegations that Law and others tried to cover it up. Live in Boston, I'm Drew Levinson. Now back to you.
Other news right now, 200 Rhode Island National Guard troops are deploying to an unknown destination. The emotional send-off happened just hours ago at the Camp Fogarty Training Center in East Greenwich. Lots of hugs and kisses before the convoy hit the road. Eyewitness News reporter Erica Chow is live now with the West Bay Mobile Newsroom.
Rhode Island's 1207th Transport Unit doesn't know yet where they will be stationed. Most likely it will be somewhere in Southwest Asia, but their first stop is Fort Dix in New Jersey. It was a morning of sadness and tears, but also a day of renewal.
Make this the bride.
Crystal and Leonard Gazeka's wedding anniversary is March 4th. Leonard is a National Guard specialist and will be away, so they wanted to celebrate and renew their vows before he headed out.
I just wanted to do it.
Somebody's got to put the foot forward and do what you got to do.
These men and women headed out with a convoy of over 100 vehicles. They'll join more than 110,000 other National Guard and Reserve forces serving the nation as the U.S. continues to ready for a possible war with Iraq.
I have a job. It's very important. This, unlike my civilian job, this is my second job. We've got a mission, and we will complete it.
Sergeant Kazeka says he'll miss everything.
It's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I miss these little guys. I'm going to miss my pool, my dog, my friends, my beer.
But despite the looming sadness, morale is through the roof.
These guys are very enthusiastic and they want to get the job done as soon as possible. And the sooner we get there, the sooner we're coming home.
And that's all Crystal wants as well. On Wednesday morning, there's another National Guard deployment. 500 military police will be deployed, which is the largest single deployment since 1940. In East Greenwich, with the West Bay Mobile Newsroom, Erica Chow, Eyewitness News.
Afternoon, I'm Pat Masters. Topping Eyewitness News today, the owners of the Station nightclub are hit with a $1 million fine. But now their lawyers are fighting that ruling. It's our top story at noon. Eyewitness News reporter Sean Daly is live at the Labor Department headquarters in Cranston.
This is only one of what's expected to be a long list of legal troubles facing the owners of the Station nightclub, but it's the first one to take shape, and it's making Rhode Island history.
Somehow live with this grief, like so many.
The owners of the Station nightclub, WPRI TV employee Jeff Dedarian and his brother Michael admit it. They failed to carry mandatory workers' compensation insurance. Now, the state labor department is ordering that they pay the maximum fine for each day they operated without coverage, $1,066,000. A waitress, 2 bouncers, and a ticket taker were among the 99 people killed in the fire.
There's an element here that strikes me of, posturing, of appearances, and of the feeling to assess the maximum so that nobody criticizes them.
Jeff Dedarian's lawyer is furious, arguing the punishment doesn't fit the history of other workers' compensation violations.
One of the criteria that the department can use is called the nature and extent of the injuries. All right, take that into account, but there are 4 or 5 other criteria that you can take into account, and what I'm saying is, even in cases where there have been deaths on the job, the company was only assessed a very fractional kind of penalty.
As far as I'm concerned, the fine is appropriate. The law allows it, and it's our job to levy the fine that we think is appropriate.
I understand that, but my question isn't exactly that. My question is whether the fine, the maximum penalty, is being driven by the maximum nature of this tragedy, by the horrific numbers here. 99 killed, 4 people, 4 of whom were workers at the Station nightclub. Is that part of the calculus?
Yes,
or is it simply the fact that they didn't have workers' compensation insurance?
No, the whole thing combined.
The lawyers for the Dedarian brothers now plan to appeal the penalty to the Workers' Compensation Court and possibly, if they don't win there, to the state Supreme Court. We're live at the Labor Department in Cranston with the West Bay Mobile Newsroom. Sean Daly, Eyewitness.